Hello and thank you for joining me today on The Political Conversationalist. My name is Ben Phipps and today's Friday, so we're doing another This Week in Politics type update video of three major political stories that happened over the week. And we've got two very impactful U.S. stories, which I know I titled these This Week in U.S. Politics. But just to round it out and give us a good number of three stories, there is a story from another country that really has nothing to do with the U.S., just kind of as a freebie. Firstly, Nicolas Maduro went to New York to the UN General Assembly and gave a speech complaining about the U.S. Foreign policy. Mainly, he said things like, the U.S. expects everyone to play by their rules and they behave as if they own the world, and things like that. However, in that speech, he did say he was willing to talk, and Donald Trump has previously said he was willing to talk as well with Mr. Maduro. This could open discourse with two controversial leaders, Nicolas Maduro, who's totally failing, and Donald Trump, who a lot of people just don't like. But Nicolas Maduro, of course, if you didn't know, he is the president of Venezuela. Venezuela is a very socialist country that used to have a very a booming oil industry. However, when the socialist government overtook that industry, the industry started declining, and now they're in extreme poverty. And 2.3 million Venezuelans have left the country over the last 4 years to seek a better life. And some of those are the people that are in the border detention centers right now. But they are willing to talk, and this comes after Trump had made the statement that maybe a military coup would be easier. Kind of offhand statements that it might be easier to just wipe Maduro's government off and start over with a clean slate type statements, but we'll see what happens. He did get North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un to talk, and hopefully he will get Nicolas Maduro to talk as well and implement some changes. Now for the freebie story. This is out of Ethiopia. I'll put a picture of the map over there. I don't expect you to know exactly where that is, because I don't know exactly where that is. But 5 people have been charged with terrorism in Ethiopia for a grenade attack on June 23rd that was meant to assassinate the Prime Minister of Ethiopia. It killed 2 people and injured dozens or scores more. Estimates say anywhere from like 30 to 100. However, their intended target, the Prime Minister, was completely unharmed. But that's interesting to me. Basically, the current Prime Minister is trying to implement changes, and there are those who don't want change. So, of course, there's going to be strife. Sad to say that it was violent strife. And now the really big story that's been happening in U.S. politics over the past 2 or 3 weeks, really. Kavanaugh's hearing is moving right ahead. Yesterday, Christine Blasey Ford, his accuser, gave her testimony to the Senate Judiciary Committee, I believe is what they're calling it, to the Senate Committee, detailing the events she claims Brett Kavanaugh assaulted her in. Kavanaugh then, of course, gave his testimony categorically and emphatically denying all these allegations and saying that it had really been just a smear campaign by the Democrats. The 21-member committee is set to vote at 1:30 today, or I would have already filmed this last night. I will update that on my Facebook page, on whether or not to recommend Kavanaugh to the full Senate for a vote. There are 11 Republicans and 10 Democrats, so if they all vote on partisan lines, then he will go on to be voted on by the Senate, where there are 51 Republicans and 49 Democrats. So if everyone votes partisan, as they normally do, he will become the next Supreme Court Justice. One thing I do have to say about this, all the accusations against Kavanaugh are very conveniently timed. They come in the middle of a trial, really, middle of the hearing, rather, where he was going to be decided on for whether or not he would be a Supreme Court Justice. They didn't come earlier in his career. They didn't come when he was decided on to be a federal court judge. It didn't come at the beginning when he was initially nominated or even put on the short list by Donald Trump as one of his possible nominees for Supreme Court Justice. It came a couple days into the hearing when Democrats opposing him really didn't have anything good to go on. So it is very conveniently timed. Not to say that they're all untrue. One thing I will say about these accusations, all the alleged events are in undetermined areas. They happened and they don't know where they happened. They happened, they didn't know when they happened, and they happened and they didn't know who was there. So they're all very old, decades old accusations. They're all accusations that can't be proven one way or another, and it's really a moot point whether or not, honestly, it is true, because you can't prove it one way or the other. And I think it's deliberately done that way. Regardless, they may or may not be telling the truth. There is no point in a FBI investigation. As I said, you can't prove what actually happened 37 years ago in an undetermined house on an undetermined date with some people there. It's kind of impossible to tell that information. So we're going to see, likely it'll vote along partisan lines and he will get confirmed. And of course the liberals will just completely explode with emotion as women's rights just completely die, according to them. It's not what's going to happen. According to everyone who's talked to him, he's a very nice man. He's always been very respectful of women. But we will see how that unfolds. This video will post probably at 4 p.m. as is normally scheduled. But I will update on my Facebook page after the results of the committee vote come out. I appreciate you joining me today. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can leave them down in the comments below. Or you can go to my Facebook page, click email me. You can email me from there if you have any specific questions, suggestions for future topics of videos, or anything like that. So I appreciate you joining me today. I hope you have a great day. We'll see you next time.